Well, this afternoon, I'd like to take you straight to the Energy Ministry, where the Energy Minister is addressing a press conference on whether or not we're back to the era of doing so.
This left us with a deficit at a peak ranging between 50 megawatts to 300 megawatts for few different dates. The intake gauge controls, as I speak today, have been rectified. There were no shortage yesterday, as available generation was 2,611 megawatts against peak demand of 2,330 megawatts. Ladies and gentlemen, today, 26 November 2018, Nigeria gas would start flowing at a low rate of 30 million cubic standard feet of gas, which will ramp up in a few days to about 80. So the system of supply in terms of gas from Nigeria has gradually been stabilized. Our major challenges, ladies and gentlemen, has been the incomplete reverse flow project to allow gas to flow from the east, from the west to the east. As you are aware, we have a lot of gas that's stranded up in the Takoradi area, and there will be a need for this gas to be conveyed through the transportation system to Tema to feed on some of the generators. We had to fast track it through a bypass which has been completed but not connected to the West African gas pipeline yet. This is as a result of the authority, which we call the WAGBA, which had not fully come out to agree on the tariff. In an earlier discussions, they intend to put the tariff price at 3.2 MMBTU, while the ministry insists on $1 MMBTU. The discussion has persisted for weeks, but I'm happy to announce that the authority on Friday, November 24th, 2018, the West Africa gas pipeline, the regulator, has finally issued the final tariff notice of $1.7 per MMBTU. This will now be approved by the Committee of Ministers on the 30th of November 2018, this Friday, to pave the way for the signing of the gas transportation agreement that will allow the connections of the bypass to be executed. So we expect that by 30th of this month, when the gas transportation agreement is signed, we will be in a comfortable position to transport and evacuate gas from Takoradi to Tema Enclave. The evacuation of this gas will ensure that at least 60 million standard cubic feet of gas can flow from the west to the east until the reverse flow program or project will be finally completed somewhere in June, July 2019. The Ministry of Energy wants to assure the public that the current power difficulties that we have over the past few days would gradually be brought under control. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. So we have some of the power sector agencies here, as I stated earlier on, GRICO, Ghana Gas, VRA, the ministry. If you want to find out some of the technical problems or issues that arose during the period under consideration, you are allowed to ask those questions. Thank you.
John Peter Amewu, the energy minister, there speaking about the Dumso situation. Now, let me just quickly recap from where we picked him up, and then as and when we need to go back to the ministry, we will do so. He speaks about the current challenges that are being faced in terms of energy production, and he says it is due to an incomplete project that is meant to allow for gas to flow from the west to the east. And he says the reason for that incomplete project is that there has been a disagreement over tariffs. So he says that finally it's been agreed that $1.7 will be charged, and that will be approved by 30th of November, which is coming Friday. And that will be done by a committee of ministers will be signing that document to allow for the gas transportation agreement to be put to use or to be implemented. He also speaks about some 60 million cubics of gas that will be transported by June or July, and is thus assuring the public that the current difficulties being experienced in the energy sector will be dealt with. He's still answering some questions there. We probably can go to him and take a listen.
It's stabilized.
Honorable Minister and your Power Sector Agency heads, good afternoon. My name is Michael Craig Afo, and I work with Oman FM. This morning, former Deputy Minister for Energy in the person of Honorable John Jinapo spoke on Adum FM, and he made a lot of allegations. And one was the fact that the government at the moment owes car power, also American power, and he also stated that ECG at the moment is losing 2 billion cedis as a result of government's mismanagement of the power sector. How do you respond to this?
Yeah, thank you. The power sector debt, as you are aware, it's quite a challenging debt. This government has inherited quite close to $2.8 billion of power sector debt. And I think most of you have been aware of the EXLA and then the bond issue that came to address some of this issue. As I speak, the last reconciliation that was done, the sector debt has, declined from $2.8 billion during the period to almost about $2.3 billion. So there's still a huge debt that is needed to be settled. So yes, of course, the debt, it's there. ECG keeps on, talking about its mounting debt. But as you are aware, again, the issues which has to do with the losses in the system has still not been totally resolved. Power theft, transportation and transmission losses, supply losses, losses generating from metering problem, and our own issues, as Ghanaians, our inability to make sure that we adhere to the practices within the energy sector, stealing of power theft, are all contributing factor to where ECG currently is. So yes, of course, ECG debts are there, but the government, it's making sure that some of these debts will be reduced. Government on its own, as you are aware, also owns heavily. Government's debt is as a result of some of the debts from some of our facilities, the municipal assemblies, district assemblies, the metropolitan assemblies, districts, ministries, some hospitals. Cumulatively, this is also a burden, on government. And that's why the policy direction for government is to make sure that we take out some of those strategic, infrastructures out of the national grid and see how we can begin to put them on solar. So these are some of the measures that government is doing. But the debt, as I've stated earlier on, has gradually been reduced, but as and when, the debts reduce, because more are being added to be resolved. Thank you. Yeah.
Respectful Minister, if I can add a little bit more to what you've said. I think this morning what John Jinapo was alluding to was the fact that the ministry or the government owes so much to car power. That is why we're having the challenge. That is not the case. I think I've stated another platform that Ghana and Car Power, our relationship is ongoing, and necessarily it will always be a little bit behind because we don't pay in advance Car Power invoices. Car Power submit their invoice and government settles it. So to say that we are owing Car Power, it's not a mistake in itself, but we are not in a situation where we are not able to meet our financial obligations to IPPs. That is a fact that must be well noted.
Any other questions, please? Raymond.
Thank you so much. And this is to ECG. Specifically, when the electricity tariff was reviewed, a barrel of crude was about $66 and $1 was like 4.5 cedis on the exchange market. What is the effect of the change in the variables on the revenue requirements of the utilities today?
ECG, can you answer that question? ECG, would you be in the... Give it to him. Yeah, that's why you are here. Yeah.
Thank you. As you rightly said, the exchange rate factor is only one of the variables that impact on revenue. So we still assessing the impact, considering all the other factors and assumptions that were made in the tariff adjustment.
I mean, I want to be more specific. Between May 2017 and October 2018, how much debt has been accrued between that particular space? Can you tell me, if any at all?
As I indicated, we still evaluating the situation, and at the appropriate time, we would inform stakeholders. Thank you very much. Any more questions, please?
Thank you so much. My name is Abdul from GBC. There were reports from yesterday that the outages that we experienced was as a result of the debts that we are owing Nigeria in gas supply, and we've not been able to pay, and that's why there was a cut in supply. How do you respond to this?
I earlier on stated that we took over a debt overhang of about $2.8 billion US. Today, if you looked at it, it's about $2.3 billion. There is still some element of reconciliations going on. So, of course, payment had been made. We continue to make payment, but there is still a debt to be settled. I think I'll hand over the mic to the VRA, if he has a fair idea of the debt overhang between VRA and gas, please.
Just the fact that it's not a result of the...
Yes, let me answer the question this way. Yes, there's a debt overhang, as the minister said. It's a legacy debt of debt that was contracted before 2016. So that debt continues to be paid. But on an ongoing basis, we pay. So we don't owe Nigeria Gas any money for gas that we consume. It's only the legacy debt, which is pre-2017, that's outstanding.
Okay. Yeah.
Any more questions?
I'm Stan, I'm with John TV. I think earlier you mentioned that the the bypass at Takoradi has been constructed and it's yet to be connected to the West African gas pipeline. When is this connection going to be made?
I think I've answered that. There is a need to sign what we call a gas transportation agreement between the parties. And that can only be executed when the tariff is agreed between the parties. The tariff finally had been issued by the authority, which is WAGBA, which is the authority. The ministers will meet on 30th, to finally agree to that. So immediately that agrees, it gives us the opportunity to sign the GTA. And after the signing of the GTA, we can continue to flow gas through the bypass process, until the project itself is finally completed.
7 days.
Yeah. So maybe 7 days maximum. Yeah.
Okay, please, my name is Jackson Osei from Asempa FM. Please, I just want to know why government is speaking now, while this problem has lasted for about 1 week. Why is government speaking now?
People issued a statement earlier. For incidents of events happening, government has to assess.
Government has been speaking, not now. I quite remember when I was far away in London, I spoke 2 times on this issue to radio station. And so when you say now, I don't know what you mean by now. My minister on my left, spoke yesterday and today. Greco has issued statement. VRA has issued statement. ECG issued statement. And so what we're doing here is to bring all the faces together to reconcile what we have said earlier. That is not quite different from what we keep on saying. So government has been speaking. I spoke far away in London. I spoke, and those of you who listened to it. So this is not the first time government is speaking on this issue. Thank you.
Last question.
Quick addition to what?
May I indicate that this is the last question? This is the last one. Unless between the two of you, one.
All right. A quick one. I think we often allow the problem to run for some days until businesses start to feel the impact of the outages, start to pour out their grievances. That is when we get the stakeholders come up to speak. This is the reality. So in the future, if we go immediately when you are aware that there will be outages in terms of...
The minister just told you the number of statements that have been made since the problem started. And you are suggesting that we are quiet until businesses are feeling it before we talk. You are not being fair to the minister, please. He just told you the series of statements that have been issued and made by different officials of government. And you are still not convinced?
Anyway, it's very important that Ghanaians must realize that 1 week of power interruptions has drawn so much attention. For us as government, we extremely welcome, Ghanaians' stance on this particular issue. For 3 years, now we know 1 year, 1 week is very key. So it gives us, as people you put in to manage your resources, it puts us in a position to be very alert. And that is why we gathered here 1 week. For 2 years, this country has been off. So it's good, but I can show you that under His Excellency, we want things like this where we want to interact with the public and tell them exactly what is happening. Okay, and that is why we are speaking. We want to give you the assurance that we will continue to engage you and let you know what is happening in the system from now onwards. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Honourable Minister, would it be fair for me to say Dumso is back?
Well, when you put off the lights, you say Dumso, isn't it? In the past 3 years, it was Dumkra. We are not in an era of Dumkra. Okay? The lights may go off as we are witnessing, but I can assure you that that long period that we envisage, that our opponent thinks that they want to capitalize on, that period will never come because we are managing the system. We have people here to manage the system, and we can give assurance to Ghanaians that the system is under control.
Minister, let me add to what Honourable Minister has just said. Because we need to understand what the perception out there is. Localized force will continue because the system as we inherited it is not a quality system. It is not problem-proof system. This is why you still have transmission losses, you still have distribution losses, you still have overloaded transformers. And government is investing so much to correct all these problems. So until we get to a state where we are so comfortable that all these faults have been addressed, we will continue to have localized faults, which may lead to outages. Some of the outages are forced outages. It's not planned. But when we say Dumso, as understood by people, load shedding due to generation shortfall, the minister is assuring you that under His Excellency the President, we won't get there again.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
I think the lady wants to. No, let's give you a chance. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Honorable. I want to know, since 2017, how much debt has been accrued and what are the plans to offset it?
This question, I think we need to refer, but it's quite very extensive. You know, for instance, on monthly basis, because of the reckless PPAs that have been signed without any power planning system, government is paying you, not government, you are paying collectively $20 million every month for power that you haven't consumed. Yesterday, for instance, there was light, no light at certain places. Is that right? Even though you were not enjoying the light, the previous government have signed an agreement that makes you to pay $20 million on monthly. And these are the issues that we come to, to face, which we are trying to address. So the debts, I don't know how to describe it, but at appropriate time, we'll let you have a look at it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen of the press, Honorable Minister, CEOs. We are very grateful to you. Thank you all.
As the Energy Minister, John Peter Amewu, addressing the media about the energy and the challenges people are experiencing. Well, he's talking about Dumkra as what happened in the past. And for those of you who don't understand that language, it means that what he had in the past was a complete shut off of electricity. But if you're talking about Dumso, then it means the lights goes off and then it comes off. It comes on as well. He was answering a few questions earlier on about how much government owes and whether or not those debts are being paid and how those have implications going forward for the energy situations. But as and when we go along, we'll bring you some more. You heard him and the VRA as well as the ECG answering some of the questions by the media.